Hi, I'm James Hossman. I'm Vice President of Florida First Capital Finance Corporation. I'm a commercial loan officer and cover the Florida Panhandle. I cover 18 counties in Northwest Florida. My job consists of, on a day-to-day basis, working with commercial loan officers at banks as well as borrowers. We finance commercial real estate and machinery and equipment, and without going into a lot of detail about the program, we actually mitigate the risk for the bank. So the bank is one of our customers, and then the borrower who's receiving the funds is also one of our customers. So essentially, whereas most commercial loan officers deal with one customer, the borrower who receives the money, we deal with two different customers. I have the bank who's one customer, and then the borrower who's a secondary customer. And we work with both of them throughout the loan process and help them get the financing that they need to purchase owner-occupied commercial real estate. As a commercial loan officer, there are several different duties that I have and responsibilities that I have to Florida First Capital. One is I deal with the borrower throughout the loan process, and that includes working with the borrower through the application process, including making sure that all the documents are filled out properly and accurately, making sure that we have all the items that we need, for instance, tax returns, personal financial statements, personal history statements, all the documentation that would be needed for a loan application. I also work with the lender to make sure that on their end that we have everything taken care of as well, title work, everything else that would be required in the process of closing a commercial loan. And I handle everything basically all the way from origination up to the closing date. I do have other parties affiliated with Florida First Capital that do help in different aspects of the process. But essentially it's my job as a loan officer, one, to find the business that's out there. So a large part of my job is to go out and market to both lenders and borrowers. A lot of people don't realize that it's not just the borrower who brings you business. In my line of work, a lot of times it's a banker who brings me business. It may be an economic developer that brings me business. It may be an accountant. So it's my responsibility to work with our marketing department, put together marketing materials that are attractive to our potential customers and referral sources to bring in that business. Then once I bring the business in, we go into the process that I just explained about making sure we have all the paperwork and the process there, make sure we do the process correctly in order to get this borrower approved for their loan. And then through the closing process, I work with our closing department to make sure that the loan is closed properly, efficiently, and that the borrower receives their funds and that the bank receives their funds. Once the loan is done, we keep in contact with that borrower. The life of that loan sticks with Florida First Capital for the life of the loan. And I personally have a relationship with that borrower all the way back from the very beginning, from the marketing stages, all the way through the servicing of that loan. So I want to make sure the borrower receives the best possible service through Florida First Capital. One of the benefits of my day-to-day work is I do work from home. So it's beneficial it's actually beneficial for me to work from home in my position because I do so much traveling and that I'm on the road so much. If I work from home, I don't have to go to an office, get everything together at an office, and then hit the road for a day or 3 or 4 days, as oftentimes it is, and then have to come back and regroup at an office. I can stay here at the house, I can get my stuff done, and then I can move on and head out into the field and deal with my borrowers and lenders on a day-to-day basis. There's a number of requirements for any type of financial position. A lot of it has to do with education, some licensing, and things like that. Fortunately for the position that I'm in, there's not a lot of regulated requirements for the type of position that I have. And you'll probably find that's probably true in most banking or finance, commercial lending type positions. I personally have a degree in marketing, and then I also have my master's in business administration. Most of the people that I deal with that are colleagues of mine in similar fields and even in the same company have very similar degrees. If I were going to look at this line of work as a career, things I would look at would be a finance degree, an accounting degree, a marketing degree, and then I would pursue a master's in either business administration, marketing, finance, accounting, one of those same areas. There's a lot of everything that goes into this. I have found that really the marketing degree I think has helped me the most in that this really is a sales job. Even though it's a financial position and I do have to analyze cash flow and income, business cash flow, I have to analyze income statements and balance sheets and look at a number of different ratios and current ratios, quick ratios and different things. There are still sales aspects to the job, and I would say that probably the majority of the job up front is sales. You have to be able to sell that product to your borrower and to your customer. money is probably one of the hardest things in the world to sell, and so you do have to have some skill set in the sales world. You also have to be able to analyze that loan when it comes in. You need to make sure that I need to make sure before I send it to one of my underwriters that the deal makes sense, that it's eligible, that it has sufficient cash flow, and that it's something that, from a financial standpoint really makes sense to make this loan to this borrower. And that's a lot of where the finance classes that I took during college have come in. One thing that I think has also helped me is I did do a couple internships in business. I did one for a real estate company. I learned how real estate is financed. I learned how the transactions work, and being that I'm financing real estate now, I think that internship really helped me out. I also did an internship for a PR and marketing firm. From the sales standpoint, I think that's helped me in my career as well. One thing that I've also done that is probably pretty common among a lot of loan officers is they're very active in the community. I feel like it's important to get active in the community for a number of different reasons. One, it prepares you to interact with people on a daily basis, and my job does require me to interact with people on a daily basis, whether it be in person or via phone. And if you get involved in your community, then you don't feel that stress and that anxiety that maybe somebody else would that's not active in their community. It also allows you to sell your product. If you're somebody that's selling your product to whether it be bankers or to borrowers or to anybody for that matter, if you're active in a community and your name is out there, people know you, they respect you, and they have a tendency to trust you. And that's what you want. You want to build that trust and show the borrower that you really can provide them the product that they're looking for. Some of the things that I think I might have been a little surprised about going into this was maybe just how much of it is sales aspect. The sales aspect goes into play in this type of business, more so maybe even than the financial aspect. You have to be able to understand finances. You have to be able to understand how a loan works, the process of getting a loan approved, and the fundamental basics about running a business. You have to understand that, but you also have to take all that knowledge and apply it in a sales aspect and be able to sell that product. And I think the sales piece of it is really a bigger piece than what most people realize when they're talking about a commercial loan officer. As probably with any job, there are a number of pros and cons that go along with my job. I will say that before I get into the pros and cons, that I love my job. I love what I do. I did my job for about 7 years. I actually left for 2 years and served as the chief operating officer for another company. And after I left that COO position, I actually came back to work for Florida First Capital. So that says something about the job that I have. I love what I do. I love the interaction. The pros are the interaction with the borrowers and with the clients. It's never the same thing 2 days in a row. It's always something different. It's intriguing. It's entertaining. And it always keeps me on my toes. It's always changing. I never get bored. I never get tired of what I'm doing. Probably some of the cons of this type of position is it can be very stressful. If you don't handle stress well, this is probably not the line of work that you'd want to go into. It can be stressful. You have borrowers that their hopes and dreams are hanging on your ability to get them, whether it be $450,000 in financing or $4.5 million or even $10 million. And so you have a lot of the stress of their business hanging over your head through the course of the day. You want to do everything you can to get that borrower those funds, but you realize that you can't help everybody. Not everybody's going to qualify for a loan, and that can be a very stressful situation. Another pro is that I mentioned earlier that I work from home. Whereas a lot of commercial loan officers commute to a bank every day and work out of an office, I work from home. The flip side of that, the drawback is I spend a lot of time on the road. I probably put 3,000 miles a month on my vehicle traveling to Florida Panhandle dealing with different customers. So even though I work from home, I spend a lot of time on the road. The other drawback is I work from home. A pro is I work from home, and a con is I work from home. When you work from home, a lot of people have a tendency to not be able to get anything done. They get sidetracked. They do other things around the house. Either fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, I don't have that problem. I don't get sidetracked. For instance, yesterday I didn't have any meetings outside of the house. It was 2 o'clock before I realized that I hadn't eaten. I hadn't done anything all day long except for get up, take a shower, and started working. When you work from home, I find that I have a tendency, sometimes I'll be working at 5:30 in the morning and I'll be working at 10:30 at night. When you leave an office, a lot of times you leave your work at the office. When you work at home, your work is always at home with you, and it always is hanging in there. You could be in another room doing something else, at 7:30 at night, but you're always thinking about, you're only a few feet away from going in there and knocking out something that you really need to be getting done. So a lot of times it is difficult to work from home and from that regard, and it's hard to put it down. But overall, the interaction that I get to have with different bankers and borrowers is far outweighs anything else in the job, and I wouldn't trade this job for anything. If I could give you any advice as a graduating college student, probably one of the top things I would say is don't let somebody else set your destiny. Set some goals for yourself and decide what it is that you want out of your career and out of your personal life, and then make a strategy on how you're going to reach those goals. Don't just wait for somebody to post a job opening. Take some initiative. Go out and pursue what it is that you want to do. I actually, through one of my jobs as a graduate assistant, when I was working as a business consultant, I dealt with a commercial loan officer, and I called her up, and her name is Mary Jo, and I said, Mary Jo, how do you do this job? I mean, how was it that you got into this industry? And she's very Southern. She goes, darling, let me tell you. She goes, if this is something you want to do, she goes, you need to go out and try to find somebody that's going to give you this job. It's not one that they just hand out. And I kind of took that advice to heart, and I located Florida First Capital and called them. They didn't have a job posted. Matter of fact, they didn't even have a single loan officer. And I called them and I said, this is something I think I could do for your company. I heard, that you might be hiring, and I'd heard that through somebody else, and they really weren't. I pursued the CEO for about 3 months. I wasn't stalking him or anything else, but after about 2 months of not hearing anything from him, he called me up and said, hey, I want to let you know I've got your resume and your emails and definitely want to talk to you. I've just been busy. And I sat down with him, and we kind of hashed it out. We said we're going to do this on a 6-month trial basis. They had never tried it before, and I had never tried it before. If it worked, great, and if it didn't, we agreed to part ways, and no hard feelings. And so I took the initiative to go out there and put this job in place for myself. And roughly 10 years later, I'm still with Florida First Capital, with that minus 2 years when I left there in the middle. But I'm still there, and I took the initiative to go out and do it. And I would encourage you to go out and take the same initiative. If you know there's something you want to do, or there's something that you feel is your calling, go out and pursue that. Don't wait for somebody to post a job opening. Don't wait for somebody to ask you for their resume. Go out and pursue it. Create your own destiny. And then I would also encourage you to be versatile enough to be able to, to work your way around roadblocks. You may not get the exact job that you're looking for up front. Right now, it is a very tough job market, and you may get something that's close, but be versatile enough to be able to see the benefit from something that may not be exactly what you want to do, but may be very close, and you can take and mold what that position is that you now have into what you want it to be, or get the experience that you need to go out and pursue something else. So I would encourage you to be versatile, and also be enthusiastic about what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, go find something that you do love. It's very important that you're enthusiastic. It shows to your customers, it shows to your boss, it shows to your fellow employees, and a company can thrive off of enthusiasm. If you have somebody in your company that's not enthusiastic, it weighs on everybody. If you have somebody that is enthusiastic, it weighs on everybody, and it spreads. So be enthusiastic, be versatile enough to change paths if you need to. Don't get stuck in any ruts, and go pursue your own destiny and set goals. That would be my advice to you.